You're watching CarTell.tv and I'm Jenny. I really liked the Veloster when I first saw it. It was Hyundai's entry into the quirky performance coupes, and let's face it, it looked completely unique. Now, back in 2011, cool was not a common thing at any Hyundai dealership, and the Veloster was supposed to change all that. And aside from the unusual coupe design, it also had the unique 2+1 door setup, with one door on the driver's side and two doors on the passenger side, which added more practicality. And its twin-scroll turbo engine, one of the 3 on offer. And that one was pretty fun, providing up to 150 kilowatts and a pretty wide torque curve. And then sense kicked in. It was a front-wheel drive sports coupe, which should be forbidden, with a fun 150 kilowatts with that engine, but about 100 kilowatts with the other 2 naturally aspirated low torque options. Not very remarkable. And it's an interesting choice with the 2+1 doors. I mean, obviously they could have put 4 doors, but chose to put 3. So it's like a more practical 2-door, but a less practical 4-door. Of all the things I thought about the Veloster at first sight, being quirky was the one that lingered, and being quirky simply for the sake of being quirky is not good enough. There should be more substance behind that, and this is where the old Veloster failed, especially with the lesser engines. Now, from what I've been told, this one may change my mind. And I have the top trim here called Turbo Premium with a dual clutch transmission and the highest powered engine. Now that's a great start, so let's have a look. First of all, they stuck with those doors. I'm not even going to comment on that again. You know what I think. Other than that, it actually looks really good. I mean, it's still got the overall design, but just modernized. The rear now looks much better, and the pronounced lip and center twin exhaust surrounded by a diffuser give it a really sporty look. And the taillights now don't look hideous, and that's always good. Now the side has a nice line and these cool creases, and the front finally has a proper grille and this nice fascia. This differently coloured roof is an optional feature on the top trim, but it does add a lot to the design. The car looks different with it. Aside from these weird doors, the designers actually kept the overall idea, and the car looks much better now. There are 2 engine options available in Australia, and the first one is an Atkinson cycle 2-litre MPI. Why Atkinson? Is it a hybrid? No, they just wanted it to be more efficient. It produces 110 kilowatts of power and 180 newton meters of torque, the latter well past comfortable revs. And you know what? It's sadly not even that efficient. And all 4 engine options have about the same fuel consumption of 7 litres per 100 kilometres. And I would expect that that one has a pretty dull ride, unlike this one. It's a 1.6 litre, which has a turbocharger and produces 150 kilowatts and 265 newton meters of torque between 1500 and 4500 revs. Now that sounds a lot better. And it also has the overboost function that we first saw on the i30N. In the Veloster with this engine, it adds 10 newton meters more between 2000 and 4000 revs. And unlike adding a door on only one side, this is an actual bonus. Now, I feel like I've been talking about this engine forever, and don't worry, I will get to the drive in a minute. But first, let's tell you about the gearboxes. There are 3 options. You can have a 6-speed manual with any engine, a 6-speed auto with the 2-litre MPI, and a 7-speed dual clutch with the 1.6-litre turbo. And the last one, friends, is the one I have here. Now, can I actually drive the car, please? It's a blast to drive. Well, for this class at least. The engine is awesome. It's super responsive and fun, and that torque is really noticeable. With the DCT, that's dual clutch transmission. All the torque arrives very low in the rev range, so the Veloster always feels effortless. The gearbox is a proper dual clutch, and that makes use of all the benefits of the extra clutch. The shifts are very fast, and if you push it hard, there is almost no loss of power between shifting. But the driving enjoyment doesn't just come from the engine and transmission. The Veloster's body is a lot more rigid now. Its handling has been heavily revised, and it has multi-link suspension across the range as well as torque vectoring. It's much more predictable and stable and obedient, and it really inspires a lot of confidence on twisty roads. Some of that comes from the low weight of the Veloster, and this is actually the heaviest, tipping the scales at 1300 kilograms. As we have learned to expect from Hyundai, the Veloster also has a dedicated Aussie tune for the suspension, and once again, it rocks. They've adjusted the Veloster to fit our roads, and it's both comfortable and controlled. If there's one thing I don't like when driving the Veloster, it is that C-pillar. It's huge, and the rear window is really small and narrow, so rear visibility is limited to say the least. So thank goodness you've got the rear view camera, because that solves the problem while you're parking, because this window ain't doing you no favor.
Hyundai says the interior is inspired by rally cars.
Maybe they had in mind the fact that it's very driver focused, and perhaps this little checkered flag to remind you that it's a rally car.
Heated leather steering wheel in this trim is great. The gear lever is very close to it. The paddle shifters trigger that DCT unmistakably, and the seats offer enough support while carving curves.
The dashboard's asymmetric, it's more focused towards the driver, while at the same time being quite stylish.
If you want even more door-related quirkiness, you should know that this front driver's door is noticeably larger than the front passenger door.
Yes, it gives better access to the front, but getting access to the front was never an issue.
On the other hand, such a large door is not the most practical thing in tight parking spaces. And it's also damn heavy.
Here is why.
Most materials here are pretty good, but then again, it is the top trim.
So from a driver's perspective, the front seats are really comfortable and the steering wheel has a really nice feel to it. I have to say that the seatbelt really needs this little holder handle thing that sticks out, because it's really hard to reach it. Having such a huge door, the seatbelt sat really far back in the car. So I don't know if they're thinking more this is geared towards a man, but I struggled, and if it wasn't for the arm,
Top of the dashboard, side of the central console, and plastic on the doors diminish that feel, and that's a bit of a shame. I'm also craving a change from these full black interiors, especially being in Australia. They feel very hot and stifling after a few hours in the sun.
So the base trim gets a 7-inch screen and this one gets an 8-inch, which for some reason still feels a bit small to me. I mean, it might just be because I literally just reviewed the Tesla.
Both of them have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The Turbo also gets torque G-force and turbo boost gauges, which is a nice touch.
Back seats are not very accommodating for adults. I mean, even me, I've got some serious headroom issues going on right here.
But the Veloster actually offers more space than most other sporty coupes.
But they are pretty comfortable if you don't mind the lack of headroom. And there's no middle seat.
The middle rear seat's actually reserved for 2 cup holders and this storage tray. Now for the boot. It has the capacity of 303 litres and its load lip is pretty high up.
Now the trunk's got a nice wide opening and it's not a huge amount of space, but it is deeper than a lot of coupe alternatives that we see. So yeah, not bad.
But all in all, aside from some of the materials up front, the Veloster's interior is exactly what it should be.
The top trim gets some nice additions, and at least you get a usable amount of space when compared to something like the Toyota 86.
In terms of safety, the turbo versions are better, of course. This car comes with smart cruise control, rain sensors, smart key, ABS, brake assist, EBD, hill start assist, torque vectoring, traction control, vehicle stability management, blind spot monitor, driver attention warning, forward collision avoidance assist with pedestrian and cyclist detection, lane keep assist, rear cross traffic alert, rear view camera and rear parking sensors.
And some of these features are present on the base model, but I'm not going to tell you which ones. And that's for one reason. The only reason that you would buy the base level 2-litre Veloster is because you really couldn't afford the 1.6-litre turbo. And that's unfortunate. And I would still ask yourself then, are you sure you can't just squeeze up to the next engine level?
So let's take a look at the pricing. The entry-level 2-litre manual Veloster that you shouldn't be considering starts at $33,500. The much more sensible choice for Veloster Turbo in manual is just under 40 grand, and if you want this turbo premium in manual, the pricing edges itself up to just under 45,000.
That 2-litre engine is simply not punchy enough for any kind of a sports coupe.
But factor in the 1.6-litre turbo engine and this car makes sense. It still looks quirky and it's more modern, has more safety, it's comfortable and it's pretty fun to drive.
I actually think it finally lives up to its sports coupe designation now, and that's despite having front-wheel drive.
Also, I want to mention that there's a Veloster N version, but it's not available in Australia just yet.
That must make for a truly throaty and beastly sports coupe, and I hope I get the chance to drive it. And thanks again for watching CarTell.tv. And the winner of our Mustang t-shirt giveaway is Michael C. So thanks for sharing the Facebook post. And today we're feeling really generous, so we're going to give away another signed t-shirt. So all you need to do for this one is make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and then leave a comment below about the car. And the most interesting comment will send them a signed t-shirt. So guys, help us out with subscribing and sharing the videos too. We really want to get to 100,000 by the end of the year. We'll see you next time. Peace.